Okay, we're reassembling. There was no way for me to show you, but basically I just grabbed the sear with needle nose pliers and I made sure to put that pin halfway in just so I could catch the sear. Leave it down in this direction because we're going to put the spring in next. Okay, continuing with this Hollywood production, I am going to try to put the spring in again in this orientation. I got the pin halfway in. What I'm going to do is take the long end of this spring. I'm going to go up under here and I'm going to feed it underneath this bar. Okay, I think I've got it. I'm going to have to put you down, but what I'm doing is I'm keeping it here. I'm keeping the long side behind the bar, and I'm just going to make sure I can send that pin through the opening in the spring. Okay, so as you can see, I was able to get that pin behind the bar and wedged between the bar and the wall. So now there's pressure on it. A little bit of a side note, but the trigger can actually be adjusted for follow through or over travel. You can undo that Allen wrench a little bit. I don't know why Ruger makes you perform open heart surgery just to be able to do that. But if you want to give it a try, you'll need to fully reassemble your gun, give it a try, and fully disassemble it if you don't like it. Just thought I'd mention that. So we're going to put our trigger back together. First thing we do is put this little plunger with its spring in there. Then we've got our trigger bar. Gonna put that there. And you can see how that interacts. Okay, we're putting the trigger back together. First thing I'm going to do is use a punch to get that spring out of the way, and I am just barely going to start this pin in there just so I can keep that spring out of the way for the future. Okay, then I'm going to put this plunger and spring inside the trigger. See how that interacts. Then I'm going to drop this in. A little bit of work squeezing it past the pin. Okay, I've inserted the pin far enough to hold the trigger into place. And now I'm going to place this with the opening facing this way. I'm going to place that back in the hole that it came out of. And I'll adjust it off camera. Okay, it's going to be hard for me to show you this, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to describe it. This is your slide stop. Basically, this little nub here is going through this opening. Okay, like that. And then I'm going to fit it in this opening on that plunger. And then I'm going to push the pin through once I get the hole lined up. So just do that. Okay, hope you can see that spring has been compacted. This slide stop is now in its place, compacting the spring, and the pin has been pushed through. Okay, first thing to do on this next phase is put this right here, because if you forget to do that, you're going to get pissed off once you have to take all this crap apart again, because this next step is a pain to get together. This is my mistake for not mentioning this sleeve fitting that came apart with all of these other pieces. These fit over that sleeve. The pin is thinner, so the sleeve goes over that. What you want to do, I'm going to try to stand this up. Okay, take two. What we're going to try to do is take this sleeve with the ridge facing you. We're going to put it through that. I'm going to pick this up, put it on this crazy pin, spring I mean. Okay guys, I'm sorry I couldn't show you that last part. It was pretty complicated with one hand. So what I did was I slid that sleeve through this plate and then through the spring. And you want that spring to hook that area of the plate. Okay, so that all stays as one. Then what we did after we put that crazy spring on is we put the hammer on. So this is the face that hits the firing pin. And that's what the main spring acts on in order to force the hammer forward. Just let that hang and keep that all together as a bundle. This is what it looks like from the front. Okay, another thing that's going to be very hard to do with one hand. Remember, we've got our plate already installed. I put the pin in just enough to retain that plate. Our sear is back. What we want to do is push that forward until it just meets resistance. Then we want to use our safety to catch that sear in that notch. So what we need to do is put the safety in its home right there, and we need to go against the spring resistance. Go against the spring resistance with this sear. We need to push it forward, probably around to here, and then this part of the sear will get caught in this notch. So I'm going to try to show you that right now. Okay, once that, I think I have it in the notch. Once you got it caught in the notch, this pin should be roughly lined up. There we go. Okay, so you can see right there that sear is caught in the notch of the safety. And then I just was able to push that pin in enough. There we go. Also be careful. This ball on the safety, that's just a plunger that can come loose occasionally. I put some grease in there to keep it kind of stuck. Okay, now we've got our hammer pack. For this, we're going to keep it kind of flat with the face of the hammer facing upright. We want this spring and the black bar to ride along the same wall that the long end of the sear rode down. Remember when we had to wedge that between the bar and the wall? We're having these two things run down the same wall, same side as that spring for the sear. Also, this trigger bar, this is our last piece of this assembly. It is going on that side right there. It's going to be finishing it off, all right? So I'm going to combine these into one pack, and then I'm going to slide this spring and this bar down the wall, try to get them into place where I can finish this pin and drive this pin through all of these holes. All right, so I think you can see right now that I've got the whole pack together, including that long trigger bar that I told you was going on the far end. We've got that crazy spring there and that black bar, and they are both riding down the wall. So those are right where they should be. I just need to press a little bit more and the holes are going to line up and I'll be able to push the pin through. Okay, you can see I've pretty much got it lined up. I did have to pull the trigger a little bit, and I had to adjust the hammer and push it a little bit forward before the holes aligned. But they're pretty good. Let's see if I can click it in. Okay, we got it all good. Alright guys, I'll admit I was just having a hell of a time figuring out what the hell was going on. My sear was pushed way too far forward, it seemed, but all it was you know, it was caught. It was still being held by the safety that I put in, that I showed you. But the problem was the sear wasn't moving when I was trying to move it. And I realized what the issue was that I needed to put in a magazine, which then acts on that lever right there. That's the magazine disconnect. And once that's in, it frees up the sear to move. So now everything's in the right position, and should be able to show you guys the rest. To put the bolt back together, throw that in that pocket. Catch the belly of this firing pin on that spring end. And we're going to slide this up while we push the pin in there. If you want any lube on your gun, now is the time. Because once we put all this together, it's, again, not the easiest thing to get apart. Alright, so now we're going to put the top half on the bottom half again. What we're doing is, this is the bottom of the top half. So that's, barrel's going that way, this is underneath the barrel. There's that chamber right there. It's just an indent, and what happens is you just put this block, and it gets slotted in the indent. Okay, so it's on tentatively right now, and we're gonna have to hammer it home, just like we hammered it off. So what we're gonna do is hammer the, well, I'm not gonna hammer the front. I am going to hammer right here with the muzzle resting on this mat, and I'm going to hammer this forward, and it should lock everything up. Alright, so now what we're going to do, make sure the hammer's down. It looks like it is, and we are going to throw in the bolt. Okay, bolt is in. Now what we're going to do is the same thing we started with. Actually, there is a trick. I'm going to have to experiment. I'm pretty sure you need to be pulling the trigger while you do this. And I think you need a magazine in. I'll confirm that in a second for you. When you're pushing this cylinder up, you will see this hump up there. You can then, or you must then, put a magazine in, pull the trigger. Not sure. Yeah, okay, you don't need to keep the trigger pulled, but I do think you need to pull the trigger once. That will then snap in, and you close it in the same way you opened it. And we'll just do a functions check. Okay, I don't know how many times I've filmed this. I keep trying to go back and do stuff with the trigger. One thing to note is make sure that black bar stays behind that crossbar. So when you're putting this in all the way, you know, keep the gun back and tilted this way, and that black bar will stay hanging down this way if you need to. I mean, if you're having trouble, it's probably that. So what I'm going to do, I got this inserted all the way. I'm going to insert a magazine. I'm going to pull the trigger, and then I'm going to fold this up. And hopefully all goes to plan. Alright, I would say all went to plan, and I think me messing around with the trigger is worth it. Check out this lack of over travel. That's nice. But yep, I did a function check, and it's all good. All that's left is put the grips on. Hope you guys learned something. Hope it helps you out. Hope I didn't leave anything out. You guys know how to put grips on. Alright, see ya.